Oh, hello there. Yes, well, good grief. Midweek madness, one way or another, I suppose, or just, I don't know, other words that begin with N. Moribund comes to mind. Yes, anyway, continuing fallout from the evil Greta Thunberg incident. Really quite astounding that you get our beautiful, lovely, sensible adult commentators who, well, number one, claim to be journalists but can't actually manage to get her age right, and then just generally sneer, because there's no better look than an adult sneering at youthful idealism. That's such a good look, and it always makes young people respect you. Trust me, I'm a teacher. So, yeah, we had this, inevitably, this is just a sample of it from the Mail. Greta Thunberg and Freedom Flotilla activists refuse to watch footage of October 7th atrocities before being deported, as glum-looking Swede who shuns air travel is pictured being kicked out of Israel on a plane, yes, or kidnapped in international waters by an act of piracy, one might say. I don't know. If I was a journalist, I might potentially see that was an issue, and if somebody was, had their ship boarded whilst in international waters by a hostile foreign state and were then taken to be somewhere they didn't want to go, that they'd be well within their glum rights to not watch whatever the particular evil people wanted them to do. But that's just me being picky about the law and morality, I suppose, isn't it? Yes. I mean, one of the things that I can assure you working with young people is, given the opportunity, if they're not happy to not do something, they won't do it. They will, metaphorically or otherwise, vote with their feet. If I was in their situation, that's the least of what I'd do. It would also be accompanied by a great deal of shouting, because as a British passport holder, I would expect the British government to be supporting me. But these days, it's not really what you get. If you're an aid worker in Gaza and you're a British citizen, you can't expect those things these days. The British government has yet to say anything about this incident, but we didn't stop the usual commentators. Here's Jake, who also used his position in the Daily Telegraph to sneer at the teenager, as he puts it, of Greta Thunberg. Teenage tantrum, as he puts it here. Just, I don't know, it's just sloppy at best, and just, I don't know, it's just a deeply unpleasant look. But these people, of course, are apologists for a variety of things, which will, in the future, become a very bad look for them. I am convinced of that. But it's the nature of our commentariat, and just generally the fact that all of our media is now slipping into this basic propaganda machine for neoliberalism. It just means that they can just be, just as obnoxious and lie as much as they want. I did notice yesterday this from Isabel Oakeshott. I would normally stand with our police, but they've made it almost impossible. No, I think, Isabel, you've made it impossible because you couldn't stand with the police because you don't live here anymore. You're operating under Sharia law in a desert kingdom, aren't you? I struggle to muster much sympathy for forces which appear to be more interested in controlling or tasering non-agrarians, that word, I can't even pronounce that properly today, than our safety. Yes, our safety. Well, no, your safety, because what you're interested in is a police force that acts in your own class interests, isn't it? Which is the reason why, after all, you've gone out to where you've gone out to, working from home. All the other things that I could say, but that would just be me being snide, and I'll leave that to Isabel, naturally. The thing I noticed particularly about the whole thing, about just not bothering with facts in any journalistic level because it interferes with the propaganda, was this one you might remember from a couple of days ago, about a child being refused OT because they were a posh kid going to a posh school. It's absolutely outrageous, as they said on GB News. Kitty Donaldson speaks out about an 8-year-old boy being denied NHS care because he's a pupil at a private school, which completely ignores a number of different things. If we go to the actual story that triggered this, which was in the Daily Mail, it's this one: boy 8, ooh, 8, boy, yeah, I know, I get age, turned away by NHS because he's a private school pupil, amid claims by MPs that Labour's raid on fee-paying schools has triggered class war and discrimination in our public services. It'd be awful, that, yeah, because various shadow ministers, yes, the Conservatives still do have some, were jumping up and down about this, about how dreadful it was. However, a cursory reading of the actual article reveals something slightly different, and anybody that actually works in the education sector or particularly SEN, or indeed the NHS, would be able to tell you exactly why this is completely wrong or a lie, depending on your viewpoint. It's basically a lie. Down at the bottom of the story, we've got this, because we had a spokesperson for the NHS. He added, occupational therapy services are available to all school-aged children who have an EHCP plan. Right, okay, that's basically meaning you've got various types of special needs. It's above being flagged. It's more actually things need to be done about it, either through the NHS or the local authority. For children without an EHCP, advice may be available through existing NHS services provided in state school. Now, I'll leave you to guess who exactly it was that instigated the idea that OT wouldn't be freely available on the NHS. Can you think of a party that's been in power for the last 14 years that might decide to make those kind of savings? Or indeed, a party that might, complain bitterly about Boy 8 being refused something, that decided to bring in an internalised service whereby, you have to have a contract to get these things. It's tricky, isn't it? Tricky questions to answer. Still, never mind, we can make an enormous fuss, It's that classic arsonist complaining about the smell of burning. And that's the game. Still, like I say, it is a good look for all of these people. And I don't know, ultimately, people have no faith whatsoever in the institution of the media, just generally speaking, in particular journalists. I mean, journalists were never held in high regard when I was growing up in the 80s or whatever, and they certainly don't do now. But when they do this kind of thing, which is just snide political propagandizing with only a nod towards anything that might actually be true, it's no wonder, is it? Still, that's me, just being a wokeist and, well, I don't know, right, as I often say. Do have a lovely start to the midweek. It's been a slow one. It's been a decidedly slow one. Still, Pussycat's getting better, so perhaps some things are okay, although not with a collar on, let's face it. Enjoy.